Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Anya and here we talk about tarot symbolism and hidden knowledge. In today's video we are going to dive into Tarot of Woodland Wardens. I'll take a closer look at the deck itself, explore a guidebook and of course go through the cards and their meanings. If that sounds interesting, stay with me and keep watching. The deck was published by Amber Lotus Publishing and released in September 2025. I obtained it right after release. It comes in this beautiful steady box with beautiful illustrations. Author of the deck is Jessica Roux, a well-known illustrator of her Woodland Wardens Oracle deck, which I also own. It looks like this. I'm sure lots of you remember this deck. It's amazing. Of course, I was looking forward for this release because I loved Oracle a lot and the style of illustration is amazing. This deck is actually her first original tarot deck. The deck comes in this beautiful box. Explore the enchanted realm of the Woodland Wardens, where creatures of fields, burrow, river, and sky represent the traditional figures of the tarot. In this companion to her oracle deck of the same name, artist Jessica Roux's richly detailed illustrations accompany thoughtful reflections rooted in folk wisdom, history, and myth. Okay, let's open it and see what's inside. Beautiful box inside as well. Here is the guidebook. It's a pretty thick book. 170 pages. That's a lot. And here is the deck itself. So we'll have a look at the deck a bit later, but first let's start with the guidebook. The guidebook is good quality. Images of the cards are black and white, but that's okay. It's similar to how the Oracle guidebook is created. Each card has a detailed description of symbolism and upright and reversed meanings as well. According to guidebook, there are 72 cards in the deck. The suits names are changed, so we have here wands representing fire, cups representing water, arrows instead of swords representing air, and pentacles for earth. And court cards are pages, knights, queen, and kings. Author claims to have kept many of the same compositions and environments as the Rider-Waite myth, but replaces humans with animals. Each animal aligns with the message behind the card, with symbolism drawn from history, mythology, folklore, and the nature of the animal itself. And the deck shows animals not only usual to woodlands, but also from prairies, mountains, deserts, rivers, and the sea. In the guidebook, the author mentions a couple of symbols. Ivy, a symbol of the infinite and also of attachment. When ivy appears, the card deals with bond, love, and nurturing. Moons and moonflowers, symbols of intuition and everything mystical, a reminder to trust intuition and the unknown. Roses representing love and beauty, winning over struggle. Two pillars represented by stones or trees as symbols of balance of two opposing forces. Lemniscate and ribbons, symbols of constant motion and change. So the art style can be described as storybook woodland illustration with some elements of folk fantasy and naturalist whimsy. We will see anthropomorphic animals here who evoke a sense of classic children's book art, reminiscent of Beatrix Potter or early 20th century illustrated tales. The artist combines realistic animal anatomy with some symbolic props as chalices, moons, scrolls, and basically grounding this magical imagery in natural detail. The deck is made in a very warm tones. We will see a lot of like foresty backgrounds, and the deck itself gives a gentle sense of magic connected to folk traditions, woodland myth, and cottagecore visual culture. The use of fine brushwork, watercolor-like shading, and muted earth colors adds a hand-painted and nostalgic feel to the deck. So we could definitely describe this style as a whimsical, folk-inspired, woodland art style, blending tarot symbolism with classical storybook illustration. So now let's have a look at the cards, starting with Major Arcana. The Fool, a white dog, is willing to embark on a new adventure. Magician, we can see a curious raccoon. In front of him we see the usual tools, a chalice, a pentacle, a branch as a wand here, and an arrow instead of a sword. Surrounded by ivy and moonflower that I mentioned earlier as additional symbolism that author highlighted in the guidebook. High Priestess, a wise and knowledgeable owl, piercing the dark with her nocturne vision. Behind the owl hangs a tapestry with pomegranates and hops strung between trees of light and darkness. We can also notice a small cross on her chest. Beautiful Rabbit is observing the prosperity of her empire. So this is Empress. Moonflowers surrounding her. Rabbit here also represents a Germanic goddess of fertility and spring. A strong and mighty ruler, Bear, sits upright on the throne entwined with ivy. We can see irises as symbols of valor, wisdom, and faith here. So the card speaks of leadership, authority, and brings masculine energy in contrast to the Empress, who is clearly very feminine and soft. Hierophant, a spiritual leader, watches over and guides his flock. So he preaches to two acolytes eager to learn from him. So also pretty similar to Rider-Waite-Smith. However, the scene here is outside, while in RWS deck it is inside the cathedral or church. Next card is Lovers. So we see two finches who see each other as they truly are. They find safety and love in their bond. One finch carries apples from the tree of knowledge, so that's the finch on the left, which is a symbol of fertility and intellect, while other one carries a branch of the tree of life, a symbol of vitality and passion, and above them there is a ladybug, a symbol of good luck and fortune. Chariot, two mules pull the cart adorned with stars. Strength, a mouse perches on the note of a lion adorned with red roses. She ties a red ribbon around the mouth of the lion, ensuring he will not devour her. This card is about inner strength. Hermit, a skunk walks the reclusive path of the hermit, searching alone for enlightenment and turning into introspection for answers. Wheel of Fortune. So this card gives me a bit of a weird feeling, like the dog is trapped here. I personally do not really like this card, but anyway. So according to the author, dogs are symbols of transformation and also associated with good luck. The glimmering ribbon here is in the color of gold and riches. However, the ribbon is loose, which means good fortune can easily slip away. Justice. A capuchin monkey sits upon a wildwood throne, iris flowers blossoming at her feet and on the tapestry hanging behind her. Hanged Warden. An elegant opossum hangs by his tail on a branch, safe within the embrace of tenacious ivy. The moon rises behind him, creating a halo. Death. A skeletal jackal stalks the grassland to collect his debt. He holds a scythe bearing a flag of poppy, hemlock, and weeping willow. So these flowers hold grim significance. So poppy for eternal sleep, hemlock for death, and weeping willow for mourning. Jackals are noted for their mournful lamentine cries, and this card feels a bit weird to me since the head is not a skeleton and every other body part is. Yeah, the flowers are nice, but the card is very weird. Temperance, we see a quail who stands at the river's edge, pouring water from one chalice to another. Behind her, irises bloom. A path leads towards the rising sun. The bird is seen as a symbol of refuge because of its ability to nest on the ground and hide in plain sight. So they also associated with sanctuary and shelter in Greek mythology. The devil, a bat, towers over two scorpions tied to a post by ivy vines. Grapes symbolize indulgence and festivity here, and flames are a symbol of passion and lust. Tower. Vultures surround the tree that has been struck by lightning in a powerful storm. These birds feast on carrion and decaying flesh of animals, but they are not only taking advantage of a loss, they are also cleaning the environment, preventing the spread of disease. So this highlights that this card is negative in a way of it's a destructive aspect, but it's also a good way in terms of like clearing space for something new. The star. So this card represents calm after the storm. 8 stars light the way in the night sky, providing clarity in darkness, and Ibis pours water from one jug into a pond and from another onto the ground next to her. So the ancient Egyptian god of knowledge, Thoth, was depicted as a man with the head of an ibis. So our ibis is 2 represents knowledge. The moon dreamily lights the way and shows the path forward. An Arctic fox and a red fox pause on their journey to look up at the beauty of the celestial body. Together, these foxes represent opposing forces within ourselves, but unified by the moon. This card is of dreams and intuition. Usually, we should see a chthonic creature crawling out of the deep waters of our subconsciousness to represent fear, but not on this card. So I'm not sure why Jessica decided not to include this chthonic creature here, but for me this is a disadvantage of this card not to have this creature here. The sun. A large sun shines overhead. A beautiful white horse stands tall amidst the sea of sunflowers, waving a red banner, a symbol of vitality. This card is of freedom, energy, and joy. Judgment, very beautiful card. So it's a card of revelation, signifying the knowledge and wisdom gained after a long and challenging journey. In this card, a bright blue butterfly soars above the clouds. Beneath her, cicadas emerge from their long sleep, ready to join her in flight. Both butterflies and cicadas are symbols of transformation. And finally, the world. A dragonfly soars effortlessly across a clear blue sky. A creature of elegance and balance, she is surrounded by the symbols of the minor arcana. We can see the wand, the cup, the arrow, and the pentacle here. The world celebrates the completion of the fool's journey, but it also signifies that after every ending there is a new beginning. This we can see in the red ribbons in the shape of the lemniscate. Here and also here. Now let's continue with minor arcana, starting with wands. Wands represent the element of fire. Fire has the power to burn and destroy, but also holds the power of creation and inspiration. Ace of Wands, we can see a wand surrounded by fireflies in the night sky. A wand hovers in the air as a gift to us all. Fireflies light the night sky and show us the path forward. Two of Wands, A scholarly weasel looks out across a wide expanse, a globe held within his paws. 3 of Wands, the boar gazes across the vast sea. 4 of Wands, 2 red-crowned cranes perform the elaborate and elegant mating dance under a garland heavy with ripe apples. 5 of Wands, 5 wolves raise their wands in battle. The card represents miscommunication and conflict, as well as competition and challenge. 6 of Wands. A chipmunk walks a path aligned with wands bound by a garland of laurels. We are noticing that there are no other animals around, while usually on this card we see a crowd of people surrounding the main character. But that's not the case for this card in this deck. 7 of Wands. The stag beetle is trying to defend himself. In German folklore, the stag beetle is associated with Thor, god of thunder. Because of his skills in combat, he is ready to face those who challenge him. 8 of Wands. The rooster crows on the foreground, and we can see 8 wands flying in the sky behind him. This card is of energy, action, movement, and speed. 9 of Wands. A battle-worn goat leans on a wand and one of his horns bandaged. 10 of Wands. A lizard carries 10 wands on his own. Page of Wands. Curious and spirited young marten. Red feather and salamanders on the cape are similar to RWS Tarot. Knight of Wands. Here we see an axolotl which captures his knight's tendency to dive headfirst into action. They're also known for their ability to regenerate. They are named for the Aztec god Xolotl, the god of fire and lightning. Queen of Wands. A black cat is sitting atop her throne. King of Wands is a salamander, which is usually considered to be the elemental of fire, and in some decks is depicted on the page or princess card instead of king. Why? Because an elemental is the embodied element, the element appearing in matter, Malkut, which makes total sense, versus king, who is associated with the absolute world in Kabbalah, the tree of life. That is why for me personally, depicting salamander on the king card does not make much sense, to be honest. Saying this, I'm trying to say that I do not agree with the choice of animal for the King of Wands, but that's what we have. Suit of Cups. Cups correspond to element of water and represent emotions, and in this deck, cups take the shape of flowers. The suit mostly features wardens who live in or near the water. It also embraces animals of sky and earth. On Ace of Cups, we can see a cup that appears as a gift carried by a jellyfish. 2 of Cups, 2 beavers raise a toast as the sun peeks out from behind the cloud. Floral cups are entwined by ivy, forming a lemniscate symbol in here, if you could see it. 3 of Cups. We see intertwined eels. Eels are mysterious, especially when it comes to their mating and reproduction, because even today many parts of their life cycle remain unknown or only partially confirmed. Likewise, the magic that makes friendship or love work is also a mystery. So that's how basically eels are connected to this like 3 of Cups energy, according to Jessica. 4 of Cups. In this card we can see a trout, but nothing else. 5 of Cups. A black-footed ferret stands in the grassland surrounded by 5 cups. Usually in RWS deck there is a bridge as a way to cross the river, but on this card it is not present, which makes me think about if this card is a stronger 5 of Cups with more sorrow, without even a bridge to cross the river. 6 of Cups. Two toads share a bouquet while their cups overflow with flowers, and we can see roses here that represent love. Ivy represents fidelity and attachment, and clematis evokes Seven of Cups. A praying mantis considers 7 cups filled with vastly different opportunities and outcomes. Ancient Greeks saw the praying mantis as an oracle, believing it could predict the future. In ancient Egyptian mysticism, the praying mantis was depicted as a guide of the dead, a spiritual being that led souls through the afterlife. Here in the cups we see riches, love, success, mystery, as covered mantis here, rebirth here represented by a snake, home and security represented by a rooted tree, and ego represented by mantis head, we can see in here. 8 of Cups, a frog departs in the night, leaving behind 8 upright cups to follow the guiding lights of the crescent moon. So this is a pretty standard illustration here. 9 of Cups, a caiman sits upon a tree stump surrounded by a beautiful waterfall that showcases her success. Caiman is well known to spend a lot of time in a trance-like state, as if caught in a dream. And we also remember that number 9 corresponds to Sephira Yesod on a tree of life, which corresponds to moon. So cups in this Sephira become stronger under the influence of moon, and this what causes this dreamlike state in the esoteric sense. 10 of Cups, an idyllic family of tapirs celebrates together. So the tapir is closely connected to Baku in Japanese folklore, though the mythical creature isn't exactly tapir, it's a supernatural being inspired by one. Tapir has similar body shape to the Baku, and as a result the word Baku came to mean both the mythical dream eater and the real animal, the tapir, at least in Japanese folklore. And people would call upon the Baku after having a nightmare saying, "Baku, eat my dream." So that's a very interesting meaning of Baku and this reference for this animal. Page of Cups. A playful and creative, the Page of Cups appears here as a crab holding a cup. Knight is a reindeer. He wears the wings of Hermes on his helm and hooves, invoking the ancient Greek messenger god. Like Hermes, he brings us a message. Queen is a badger, which may appear fluffy and sweet, but do not mistake kindness and generosity for weakness. King of Cups, an otter sits upon a rocky throne in the middle of the sea. Suit of Swords here is called arrows, as arrows soar through the air. That is the only logical connection here, and according to the author, this suit represents intellect, thought, cunning, strategy, truth, and liability. As the wind blows, the clouds move to reveal the sun or moon and provide clarity. So I guess we need to pay attention to the clouds in this suit and also to moon and sun. On the Ace of Arrows, we see crowned hawk. This is a gift of clarity in our journey. Ivy twines around the arrow here, representing our desire to control our core nature through rational thought. 2 of Arrows, a blindfolded mole stands before us holding 2 arrows in its paws. While many people believe that moles are blind, they can in fact see and are quite perceptive in their dark environments. Author says that this card is about making a choice, which I personally do not agree with. For me, the 2 of Swords is a card of compromise, reaching peace of mind in a certain situation, but this is not about choice really. 3 of Arrows. As 2 swans touch, the negative space between them forms a heart pierced by arrows. According to the authors, this card is of heartbreak, loss, and despair, a period of suffering. I usually read this card as a bitter truth and seeing things that they really are, which can be painful for sure. Four of arrows. On this card we see a porcupine who rests on a bed of leaves. This is time for rest and recovery, turning inwards and taking care of yourself. Five of arrows. We see a wolverine who has collected the arrows of his defeated opponents. The battle has been won, but at what cost? Six of arrows. A family of bison boards a boat that's been pierced by 6 arrows. According to the author, this card represents a journey into the unknown. I read this card as the ability to control your thoughts and guide them, because this card is placed in the 6th Sephira of the Tree of Life, which is about balance, harmony, and beauty. This is actually the best card in the Suit of Swords, is when your mind is in the most optimal state that allows you to choose good strategies. That is why in Thoth deck this card is called Science, because this is when your mind is bright, clear, and you can actually invent new things. Like, it's the best state you can have. But anyway, I think in this deck we can kind of forget about the occult meanings of tarot, and we can just enjoy illustration and imagery, because this deck is clearly not about occultism, but it's more about beautiful illustration. 7 of arrows. We see a sly coyote who appears carrying stolen arrows. She has no intention of sharing. Coyotes are often painted as tricksters in folklore, outwitting those around them. So that's what we see this card. 8 of arrows. We can see an armadillo, which according to the author is trapped by forces outside of her control. 9 of arrows. Restless sleep plagues the moth, who has awakened in a fit of anxiety. 10 of arrows. A ringtail sleeps peacefully despite arrows piercing her skin. Author suggests that this card is about endings, which I would say is one of the meanings, but not the only meaning of this card. Page of Arrows. As the winds of change blow, the Page of Arrows prepares for action. A wolf stands at her bow at the ready. This page can urge us to share our thoughts and explore how best to convey them to a broader audience. At least this is what author suggests as a meaning of this card. Knight of Arrows. We can see a crow who soars through the air, wearing a knight's helmet and grasping an arrow. Queen of Arrows. We see a bobcat with crown of butterflies and cape of clouds. Bobcats are known for their independence and stealth, and the Queen of Arrows embodies this with her intelligence and keen perception. King of Arrows. A large and powerful elk sits upon a throne. Colossal creatures like elk can cover great distances and navigate difficult terrain with ease. Now, Suit of Pentacles. Pentacles are associated with the element of earth, representing tangible, material aspects of our world, as well as our capacity to grow. Pentacles in this deck are inspired by the circular, organic form of the moonflower, representing the reward for following mystery with curiosity and connection with nature. So, Ace of Pentacles, we see a turtle balancing a pentacle on his shell, surrounded by an arbor of lilies. According to the author, lilies are symbols of purity and often associated with the Virgin Mary. 2 of Pentacles. Oh, I love this card so much. The snake forms a lemniscate, unity sign with his body. According to the author, this card is about life's unpredictability, which we need to embrace. I really like this card, and it actually reminds me of Marseille style decks. They usually depict 2 of Pentacles like this. 3 of Pentacles shows the beauty of working with others. Teamwork and collaboration are key of creating something meaningful. In this illustration, 3 bees create 3 pentacles in the honeycomb. 4 of Pentacles. A goose, words for pentacles, holding tight to his resources rather than sharing them. 5 of Pentacles. 2 deer, the younger of whom is injured, struggle as they journey through the woods. searching for help and better future. This rising sun at the horizon gives us hope that everything will be okay soon. Six of Pentacles. A prosperous rat merchant shares his bounty with this less fortunate rats, giving 3 pentacles to the left one, giving 2 pentacles to the right one, and keeping 1 pentacle for herself, which is amazing. 7 of Pentacles. The antelope waits for his crops to come in. So in my opinion, this card is misinterpreted so often. So these leaves are actually fallen leaves, not a bush or a plant that can give crops. It won't give any crops. The pentacles here are attached to it, not growing on it. This is a very important symbol that so many tarot readers just miss. So this card is about failure, wasted resources, and time spent to get nothing, while still having the illusional hope to get something. In the Hermetic order of the Golden Dawn, the 7 of Pentacles is known as the Lord of Success Unfulfilled, or failure. To add a bit more about this card, right? Why is this failure? This card is Saturn in Taurus, and Saturn is restriction, and Taurus is growth. So basically this card screams restriction of growth. There is no growth. I do not like when in little white box this card is represented as preparing to yield a bountiful harvest. Come on. This is an extremely wrong meaning, and especially it can even be dangerous if people start using this card in rituals for growth, prosperity, success, because it is not. It's exactly the opposite. 8 of Pentacles. A hedgehog who collects food to sustain her family over a long winter. 9 of Pentacles. According to the author, the falcon is a symbol of travel. However, in the RWS deck, this bird represents a completely different thing. The high status of the lady, as only rich people were able to afford falcon hunting. So once again, we see how the initial meaning of the RWS system is shifted to something that does not exist in the original system. This bird is also a symbol of self-sufficiency, independence. However, the woman is controlling its power as the falcon is calmly perched on her hand. It represents the woman's ability to manage strong forces within her life or within herself. So all these meanings are completely lost on this card when we show this bird like this as a main character, because that would definitely mean that you are being controlled. It's not that you are controlling. So you see how meaning shifts because you change main character to the animal, but you kind of keep the illusion of keeping the Rider-Waite-Smith symbolism here. 10 of Pentacles. A family of hounds sits together in an idyllic garden surrounded by pentacles. According to the author, this card is about friends, family, and balance. However, in the Golden Dawn system, this card is called Lord of Wealth and is represented by Mercury in Virgo. And this card is about the futility of accumulating material possessions. So those possessions need to be invested into something to create the movement of material energy. Otherwise, this will lead to full stagnation and loss. Page of Pentacles. A spider sits in her net. Knight of Pentacles. A snail who moves slowly but thoughtfully, representing the persistence of the Knight of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles is a red squirrel. And King of Pentacles is a ram whose throne is surrounded in ivy, a symbol of his attachment and duty to his realm. So to summarize, I can say that I still genuinely appreciate the illustration style, and only because of that, this deck remains in my collection. However, many cards feel too similar to one another, and the backgrounds are often overly empty and too minimalistic. From my perspective, this deck does not carry any occult symbolism, and therefore its use for magical purposes or serious divination is questionable. I cannot confirm that this deck truly corresponds to the RWS system, and I would say it is inspired by the surface level imagery of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but the esoteric foundation that originally dictated these images, the Kabbalistic worlds, astrology, Golden Dawn, correspondences, is completely absent. So because of this, the deck creates a very strange sensation, in my opinion. It looks like tarot, but has little to do with tarot as an occult instrument. For me personally, this means I will treat this deck more as oracle deck rather than tarot deck. I do believe that animal symbolism that author writes about in the guidebook is thoughtful, interesting, and can enrich one's understanding of the imagery, but it has nothing to do with actual RWS meanings. So a few cards are interpreted reasonably well, but in most cases the meanings drift far away from the traditional structure, which can also confuse someone trying to learn tarot, because you will just learn wrong meanings and you would not understand the system. So let me know what you think about this deck and whether you would like to use it as a divination tool or just keep in your collection because it's just so beautiful. If you found this video helpful, do not forget to hit like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.